Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the historical weapons that packed a deadly punch.
The Washa works well, and with many of them firing away on the battlefield, the resulting chaos would be terrifying.
Number 10. Meurtrières, aka murder holes. What's in a name? Well, it feels sort of self-explanatory when we're discussing meurtrières, otherwise known as murder holes.
Oil in the murder hole!
Although not weapons in the strictest of senses, this architectural design was achieved with some seriously bad intentions.
We know what a murder hole is, but it won't work.
Those that became trapped within a room or passage featuring a meurtrière would run the risk of all kinds of danger. That's because defenders would use these holes to rain down arrows, calcium oxide, boiling water, or just about any other lethal substance that could fit. It honestly sounds like a pretty chaotic and devilish way to go if you ask us.
Get it through the murder hole and take cover.
Number 9. Aztec Macuahuitl. Here's a question. What do you get when you combine the blunted, swinging power of a club with the razor-sharp edges of a sword?
Macuahuitl, or the Macuahuitl, was an Aztec weapon. The Aztec warrior often would not try to kill his opponent. He would try to maim and hurt him to be able to take him back to the temples and sacrifice him later.
Well, you just might come up with a weapon similar to the Aztec Macuahuitl. These wooden swords featured blades forged from obsidian, which were then affixed to each side.
Ancient Aztec weapon, brother, made out of obsidian and wood.
Looks like a cricket bat with little blades on it.
That's freaking rad, bro. I want one.
The resulting Macuahuitl could then be used in a variety of ways. Enemies of an Aztec warrior could be crushed by the force of the weapon's weight or sliced to ribbons by the blades. This versatility helped make the Macuahuitl weapons that were both esteemed and feared.
I brought something else to keep things interesting. You're not the only one with weapons from far-off lands, you know. Ready?
Number 8. Chakram.
Sit up!
These weapons of Indian origin could be wielded in a variety of ways. The chakram's small but deadly design made them fit for both close-quarters melee combat and for long-ranged attacks. These circular discs featured sharp edges that made them extremely destructive when thrown at an enemy.
The chakram is an Indian throwing weapon which dates back hundreds of years. Warrior Sikhs would throw it like a frisbee or spin it at high speeds on their fingers before launching it into the enemy.
The range of a thrown chakram has also been reported to be at least 100 meters. Meanwhile, these weapons are also easy to transport along great distances, often worn at the waist or otherwise stored discreetly while traveling. This adds an element of surprise to what's already a pretty useful tool of death.
And of course, any technique could be used with chakram for long-distance throws, even the sidearm. Now I'm on about 15 meters. No problem at all.
Number 7. Morning Star. There isn't any one specific design that designates a true morning star.
I don't believe they hid it. It's the Morning Star.
Instead, the term is something of a catch-all for any sort of spike ball and club combination popularized during the medieval period. These fearsome weapons certainly looked the part, inspiring trepidation and uncertainty before a battle has even begun.
Is this a Morning Star?
Meanwhile, the Morning Star provides its user with multiple ways of attack, from the blunt force trauma achieved via a swing or the piercing blades of the ball. The connecting chain also allowed for centrifugal force to do its dirty work, demolishing pretty much anything that got in its path.
We bashed the hell out of him and he died. So we proved that they were effective against a man in armour. Well, no one's going to be that dummy, are they? No one's going to stand there and be thwacked by this just out of a bit of academic curiosity. I can't think of a way you could test this properly in a real fight situation where you're actually trying to hit the other guy.
Number 6. Huacha.
They have us. We have Huacha.
A weapon of the enemy, not samurai.
Saving our people is all that matters.
You know how to fire this?
I'll learn.
It's mobile artillery fire for the 15th century, an organ gun designed to shoot volleys of arrows at its opponents. The Huacha was initially developed in Korea and could replace multiple archers in a single shot.
The trick of the Korean Washa is its ignition mechanism. One man can fire 100 arrows at the same time.
Its design is similar in theme to the Rebaldequin from the medieval and Renaissance periods, and eventually adjusted to house everything from darts to bullets. Granted, usage of the Huacha wasn't a single soldier job, and repairs were frequently needed when transporting the weapons during conflict. That said, the ingenuity of its design cannot be denied.
This is actually the coolest ancient weapon we've ever made.
Number 5. Urumi. Star Wars The Acolyte didn't create the idea of a whip sword in a vacuum.
They were all killed by a lightsaber. What does that tell you?
Nah, the Urumi was a real-life example of this unique martial technology, a flexible sword of Indian descent. The whip blade of an Urumi could be singular or numerous, depending upon the design. Meanwhile, those brave enough to wield this weapon could see themselves seriously injured in the attempt. This was due to the ease with which the Urumi blades could double back upon the wielder. However, their slashing attack proved a difficult and confusing proposition for opponents, often breaking through even seasoned defenses. Number 4. War Scythe. The designs of many common weapons have historically been adapted from those utilized for agriculture.
The classic Grim Reaper's scythe, no, that's not really a weapon. Though there's a weapon that's quite similar to it that I'm going to mention later because it's not really a scythe.
Scythes definitely fall under this banner. While the War Scythe was a specific pole weapon that could both stab and slash during melee combat, War Scythes proved particularly worthy in close quarters, while their simple design connects their history with those simpler scythes found in the fields.
Well, you can actually strike with the blade, and it's a far more efficient weapon. That is what is called and known as the War Scythe.
Meanwhile, their versatility made War Scythes a weapon that could easily be shifted in a pinch, switching from stabbing or slashing to clubbing with a turn of the wrist.
The balance is light, allowing it to be a very fast weapon that you can use middle hand, long-handed, or for close quarters. Your weapon will kill.
Number 3. Dragon Beard Hook.
Get over here!
Don't take the name of this weapon for granted. The Dragon Beard Hook is anything but fanciful or harmless. Instead, this easily concealed weapon was used for trapping opponents from a safe distance. The serrated edges of this crescent moon hook meant that anyone entangled by a dragon beard hook was not in for a good time. Those who wielded this weapon usually ensnared opponents with the dragon beard hook in order to bring them closer to their sidearm or blade. Yet the hooks were usually so damaging that it didn't take much for those trapped by its edges to bleed out or suffer severe injury.
Get over here!
Number 2. Cluster Munition.
Rain fire! But sire, our troops just do it!
This is one of the few weapons on this list that remains a major worry for many battlefield occupants in the modern day. Still, cluster munitions are nothing new and actually date back in origin to the Second World War. German butterfly bombs cast out deadly fragmented shrapnel, while modern examples of cluster bombs can contain anything from anti-armor munitions to incendiary devices. The real danger here is the force and radius of damage of these cluster bombs.
They open in midair, dispensing hundreds of submunitions, or bomblets, over an area roughly the size of a football field, and causing immense destruction.
Meanwhile, the indiscriminate damage of their contents remains a disturbingly compelling example of modern warfare's morbid progression. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Greek Fire.
Get down!
It was one of the most feared weapons of its day, an engineering marvel from late antiquity. Greek fire was essentially the napalm of its time, a recipe for disaster against any who encountered it.
This fearsome weapon would come to be known as Greek fire.
Warriors of the Byzantine Empire would utilize Greek fire to burn enemy ships, tossing them grenade style or otherwise coating the water with the stuff. The Byzantine opposition tried and failed to recreate Greek fire for their own use, although it should be said that it wasn't a perfect weapon.
With the help of a firebolt, the liquid is then ignited.
Choppy seas made it too dangerous to deploy, and its range couldn't compete with more traditionally minded distance weapons like arrows. Still, this liquid fire remained a marvel of the day, to be sure. Which period do you feel saw the biggest advances for modern warfare? Let us know in the comments.
It's possible that there is some mechanical advantage of one of these.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.